many communities in the United States.
So we're here with Anonymous, and he's been homeless in many different communities, many different states.
Indiana, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Florida, Ohio, Texas, uh, New Mexico, uh, New Orleans, Louisiana, Georgia.
So
So
out of all those places, what has been your favorite place to go?
Austin, Texas.
Really?
Austin, Texas is the most community focused from a holistic perspective. But there's also the largest disparity that I've experienced. And I haven't actually lived in California, and I've never been homeless in California, obviously, because I've never lived there.
Okay.
I'm sure there's a bigger disparity there or in other places.
Right.
But here, as far as the level of support for the community, is more massive here than anywhere else. And there's less violence here than any other community that I've been to. You know, Indiana, Illinois, like, you know, Chicago, New York, like these places, there's a lot more violence. So there's things that are happening here that are very community focused.
Right.
But there's also things that can be improved. And I think that Austin, Texas is a kind of an epicenter for America, for how we address this community issue of economic disparity.
Right.
You know, racism. There's a lot of talk about that in different communities, but really the biggest prejudice that I see right now in the United States is against the homeless people. You know, and it's like if you don't like the way somebody smells, or you don't like the way somebody's talking, or they're talking too loud, or
Right.
you know, they're moving their arms in a certain way, you
Yeah.
feel threatened. Well, how you feel as a result of what I'm saying or doing is your responsibility.
Yes,
You're in
sir.
charge of your own emotions. If I haven't brandished a weapon, or I haven't actually struck you in a way, or even vocally said that I was going to, there's no reason from my perspective that you should feel fear. I can say what I want to say per the Constitution, and I'm a human. I can say whatever I want to say. So you're in charge, and a lot of people don't take responsibility for their own emotions and their own fear.
Right.
You know, and it's like, okay, so when do we stop punishing other people for our own personal fears and delusions? Like, that's a big part of it, because a lot of the people are being punished now because of people that are wealthy having fears and delusions and saying, oh, well, this person, you know, threatened me. Well, how did they threaten you? Well, they waved at me. Well, okay, so they waved you. Well, they obviously have weapons. Did you see a weapon? No, I didn't see a weapon. Well, how do you know they had? So it's like all delusion based. You know what I mean? And then you have a man like this who's very vocal. Whatever, you can say whatever you want to say. And if you're buying things in a particular property, why can't you be there? You know, it's like these businesses that say, oh, you can buy a beer here, but you can't drink it here. Or you can buy this here, but you gotta leave. Like why do you sell something that you don't want on your property? You know what I mean? It's like going to a bar and saying, like, you can order a beer at the bar, but then you have to go somewhere else. That's not really how it works.
Right.
You know, if you're profiting from something, you should allow that on your property. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're actually profiting from it. You're actually, you know, like, I love animals. If you bring an animal to my house or to my property, I'm going to be like, sweet. Right. If I give you an animal and you hang out with my animal at my property, I'm going to be like, sweet. I'm not going to say, like, hey, you know, take that animal or that plant and go somewhere else. Like, that doesn't make any sense. You know, it's like.
Well, let me ask you this, Anonymous. Do you mind if I call you that?
What?
Anonymous?
That's fine.
Okay. You know, would you say that you get looked down upon when you're living this kind of lifestyle?
Sometimes. I'm actually trying to. My goal is to make being homeless the coolest fucking thing that could ever occur. I want it to be a sought after thing. I want to change the dynamic. I want to change the image.
Because the world is your home.
I want to make it cool.
The world is your home.
The world is my home.
Yeah.
The earth, every human is my family.
Community.
You know,
all
community.
One.
I'm connected to it all. It's like Star Wars. It's like what Yoda says. I mean, honestly, it's like, you know, like, I'm connected to that tree. I'm connected to you right now. I'm connected to this. I'm connected to anybody who's watching this. This is my friend. We vibe a lot. We end up in the same environment all the time. It's like my brother right here. You know, it's like these people that work here, this property, this skateboard. Like, I'm connected to all of it.
Yeah.
You know, why do some people see that where they are, they're disconnected from, or it's somehow different or separate from them? It's not.
Right.
You're connected to your backpack. You're connected to that sidewalk, your shoes, like this whole dynamic. Even that police officer.
Do you think when people try to disconnect from society, that's where you see most people, you know, causing negativity?
Well, I think it's people not wanting to accept certain elements of themselves when that element is manifest in front of them like a mirror reflection. and they can't accept it within themselves, then all of a sudden they want to kill it, destroy it, or eliminate it. But it's actually something that once embodied by the personal human, it's okay. You know, anybody who is okay with certain aspects of themselves is okay with this man being in their environment.
Right.
Some people who don't like certain aspects that he's displaying, and they embody those aspects, and they can't accept it about themselves, they're naturally not going to accept that human.
Right.
You know, just using this person as an example, but that happens a lot of times.
They can't seek that level of optimism.
Right. They can't. Yeah, they can't see how connected they really are. They actually are very disconnected, and
Right.
they use economics, usually economics, as a means to be more powerful in the situation. You know, to dominate the situation.
And you're from America?
Eliminate. What's that?
And you're from America?
I was born in West Virginia. Yeah.
West Virginia.
Yeah.
West Virginia. And out of all the places you've been in your life, Austin, Texas has been your favorite place to live.
I didn't say that. I said being homeless and community focused. This has been probably the most ideal dynamic.
Okay. So
for this particular choice of lifestyle. My favorite place that I've ever lived is Florida.
Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Right on. Right on. Have you? You said you've lived this lifestyle for how long now?
A little over 3 years.
A little over 3 years.
Yeah, and I used to make $240,000 a year.
What were you doing that?
I was a financial planner.
Financial planner.
Yeah, I was like the epitome of economics and capitalism, and now I'm actually on the opposite end of that spectrum. I'm the anti-capitalist.
You look very intelligent. You sound very intelligent.
Most people who are homeless are extremely intelligent. You have to get past the facade that they're putting on, or you have to. It's like an Arabica bean, you know.
Right.
I love Starbucks, right? They're the most difficult
Like
beans.
coffee.
They're the hardest beans to get. They're the hardest beans to acquire. They're the hardest beans to harvest. They're the hardest beans to actually break down and make coffee out of. But it's the most fucking delicious. Like once you get through that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, do you have any degrees associated with that financial planning or anything like that?
I did go to school for finance and I dropped out.
You dropped out.
Yeah.
So how did you land?
I'm self-taught in almost everything that I did.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And of course, I used to have licenses and different things, and that's a whole other story that I ended up transitioning. I lost all that, became in this situation, and now I have a different perspective. And I like to think of it like, you ever seen the movie Creed?
Yeah.
So like
The boxing movie?
yeah, so like what's the first thing Rocky does? He takes him to the ghetto. He's like, let's get a different perspective. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I mean, you can have all those shiny things and the degrees and the nice cars and all the things, but you're not getting a full perspective of life if you're there. You go to the ghetto and you go here, like now you have both, right? It's like Kid Rock said, you know, I've eaten out of dumpsters and I've got high with kings. Like, you got to have it all.
So you have no monthly payments due in your name?
No.
None at all?
Well, I'm not going to say that I don't have. I mean, I have things that I maybe from a cultural perspective should be paying.
Okay.
But I don't. You know, at this point.
Do you feel more free from the Matrix that you don't have a rent payment?
Not necessarily. I mean, because like from how you're terming the Matrix is something that is necessary for our particular process as humanity at this particular time.
Okay.
So we're never. If you think you're free from the Matrix, you're still feeling disconnected. The Matrix is technology's here. It's not going anywhere.
Wow. So you
have to embrace both.
Okay. So you can't, even if you're homeless, you still can't escape the fact that cops can just pull up on you.
I can't escape the fact that anybody can fuck with me at any particular time, from any store, a police officer.
Right.
You know, I vote. That's part of the Matrix. I have a tablet. I have now a laptop. Like, you have to be connected to society. I earn money in different ways because that is a requirement.
Right.
Of living in society. I mean, squirrels don't need it, but at the end of the day, squirrels aren't humans.
Yeah.
And, you know, so.
And he was telling me, you know, you guys sometimes eat out the garbage can?
I personally do not.
You personally do not?
But some people do.
You personally do?
I personally don't fly a sign, but I have stolen things, like from a cultural perspective.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's just a matter of, you know, here in Austin, it hasn't been a requirement. Up north, it's been a little bit different. Right. Actually, things have been a lot easier as a homeless person here in Austin than anywhere else I've ever been.
Because the
community. As far as my interaction with police officers has been a lot better here than it has anywhere else.
Really?
I've noticed that in other places they don't use tasers. You know, like there's a big wedge. So here there's an evolution that's getting closer to ideal.
Right.
But in up north, if you go to a mental hospital and you don't have cigarettes, they'll give you one every hour. Like that's a thing. You know, they have journaling classes.
What was the deciding factor that just said 3 years ago you're like, hey, I'm done with this. I want to live free. What was the decide? Like, what made that transition?
I don't know that it was necessarily a lot of our choices in life aren't really choices. They're just kind of the flow of our life. You know, it's everything that I was doing wasn't working, and so I just had to change everything. So I'm giving you a general answer because I don't really want to get into details.
No, I like that. I like that. So you felt that it was almost like a journey you needed to be on,
Yeah, it was a challenge, first of all.
like a challenge. Would
Yeah,
you say you're a challenge?
I mean, I used to make $240,000 a year. I challenged myself culturally on many levels to get to that level.
Right.
Now I'm challenging myself to an opposite dynamic. You know, it's not about money anymore. It's about survival. It's about connection. It's about, you know, you're only as good as the people that around you that you help elevate.
Yeah.
You know, so like
Right.
that's where I'm at with it.
So why did you choose the city instead of like the country?
The city instead of the country. What do you mean?
Like living in the city opposed to living free in like the country somewhere? Like
I've already done that.
Okay.
I've already done that. You know, and so this is something different.
City's a new challenge.
I mean, and there's a lot more people in cities.
Yeah.
So from a holistic perspective on humanity as a whole, you know, you're more effective in a city versus just, you know,
If you're
living
trying to
on
get
a
in
mountain
touch,
somewhere by myself.
right?
You
You
know?
want to get in touch with the community. You want to be able to provide knowledge.
Right. I want to be a voice. I'm a very vocal person.
Yeah, it sounds like it, man.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, people. I think this is what I tell people. And why I started this is because I want to share. Like, I believe, however long you've lived. Let's say you live 50 years, right? I believe, however long you lived, if you don't share that information and document it,
Right.
it's gonna die with you to the graveyard.
Right.
So this is my way of getting your interpretation of life and just sticking it in like a 30-minute video.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Because there's going to be things you say that people are going to relate to and
Right.
maybe needed to hear.
Yeah.
You know
More
what I mean?
people need to use their voice.
More people need to use their voice.
100%. And share their experiences. Because if you're not sharing your experience, you're shortchanging humanity. Because we all have our unique journey. We all know something. I know something that you don't know. You know something that I don't know. We should exchange. That's how we both grow and become better. This man knows something that neither one of us know.
Right.
We know something that he doesn't know. We should share that.
Right. And that's how we grow.
That's how we grow.
And that's how we connect better.
And that's how we grow as a species and as a culture.
And you say me trying to disconnect because of my inward beliefs is the main problem.
I didn't say that.
Or no?
I didn't say anything about you specifically.
No. I'm saying, like, if I were to try to disconnect myself from trying to have a conversation with you because of like how you're saying how you smell or how you look or what, you know, the things you say, then I would be limiting my own life.
Well,
and
yeah,
the society
you're just
around
missing, me. You're just missing an opportunity that life is presenting.
Right.
You know, you're not harming anyone but yourself, really, at the end of the day.
Right.
Because this man's going to continue to exist.
Right.
Whether you remove him from the property, put him somewhere else, judge him, ridicule him, ignore him, he's going to continue to exist. I'm going to continue to exist. You're going to continue to exist. Our opportunity is to collaborate and share with each other.
Right.
You know, if we decide collectively and individually not to do that, then we're just missing an opportunity.
And would you say Austin does that to a greater
extent
level?
Most communities. Yeah, and I would say, and I haven't explored outside of Texas all that much, but I would say even in Texas, Austin is an anomaly, and I would say on a national scale, it's an anomaly as well. But I will say that other countries such as Mexico, and a lot of the countries, Africa, are way more. India, China, most Asian cultures are way more highly evolved than we are anywhere close to in the United States. We have more homelessness in the United States, and we're supposed to be the wealthiest than anywhere else on the planet Earth. We share less.
Do you believe in the term homelessness, though?
Well, I mean, it's a thing. You know, it's a tagline. So, like to say I don't believe in the term homelessness is like saying I don't believe in the term street. You know, because it's something that's accepted as a word.
But we spoke
term.
about, you know, like the perspective.
I don't have a residence or a place that most people would call home, an apartment or a condo.
Would you say that the world is your home?
Well, yeah, it's all of our homes, actually.
Right.
I mean, it's, you know. just a
So
matter of what degree do we accept that. You know, the modern house and the modern apartment and the modern condo is an anomaly. If you look at humanity as a whole and how long we've been here, the weird thing is that we've decided to imprison ourselves for 30 years into a box or into a contract for a year or 2 years for a rent payment. I mean, we're imprisoning ourselves. Like,
yeah,
that's the anomaly. We've never done that before culturally. Like, if you look at the span of humanity, that is a very small speck.
why do you think they're trying to push for those for that lock on you?
It's not really, there's no they. Like, we are the they, right? I mean, when you're pointing your finger out there, you're pointing three back at yourself. Like, when you say the government this and the government that, really, well, what active role are you taking to change things? If you're not taking an active role, you're the problem. There's no they. You are the they. Like, like you're taking an active stance on something because you believe in something, right?
Right.
So you can judge the situation all you want. You probably voted too, I would say, like in the election, right? People that don't vote, they don't have a right to an opinion. I mean, I'm a homeless felon and I voted. So what's your excuse? It's like,
There's no activity if there's no activity. It's kind of
right,
what you're
if you're
saying.
not, if you're not doing something to change,
And that's a disservice to the community.
well, it's a disservice to yourself and the community, right?
And your community.
And if you're speaking negatively about something or complaining about something, but you're not actively participating in the remedy, then I don't think people have a right to speak in that situation.
Being on the streets, I'm sure you've experienced a few different things.
Yeah.
Seeing different things, living different places. Have you ever, had an experience like God came into your life within
Every
those
day.
every day?
Every day. I mean, like, the first decision to take the keys to my condo and leave them inside and lock the door with the voice in my head that said, the birds of the air, the flowers of the field have lacked for nothing. Why would you? And stepping out, I've lived in abundance every day since. And that's not coming from a religious place. That's coming from a place of, there is a supreme guidance, no matter what you believe or what church you go to or whether you go to a church or not or anything else. I mean, you're connected to the earth. You're connected to humanity. You're connected to a higher power. And it is our birthright to have basic necessities met and even abundance met.
So let
And
me
it's
ask you
really a
this,
matter of perspective.
because a lot of people struggle with what's going to happen after this,
After what?
after this life.
There is nothing else.
What's going to happen?
You're already dead. We're already dead. That's the thing we don't realize. This is it. We're in heaven. It's just a perspective.
So we're in heaven right now.
We are right now. It's just a perspective. Like, you have everything. You're designed to be a creative being. You have everything that you're projecting into the universe outside of yourself.
This
You
is
are
God's
exactly
work.
where you want to be.
Yeah, we're all our gods, our own gods.
We're all creating our own reality and
Yeah.
making our own choices.
Would you say
So
that
everything that you receive is something that you're calling to yourself. That's heaven. That's what we describe as heaven, right? Like, you have everything that you want. Well, you do. You have everything that you want. You have this conversation because you set up a desire for this type of conversation. You have that phone because you set up a desire for that.
right?
You have that shirt because you picked it out. You have, like, everything that, I'm making this personal, everything that you experience in your life, you have created because you've called it to yourself. I'm ready to step out and be a speaker in this, and so I've called this dynamic to myself, and it's here. And this is my friend, and he's helped me with this, and I appreciate you, friend.
President of the United States, Donald Trump, White House.
I love Trump, dude.
You love Trump?
I voted for Trump the day he was in town.
The day he was in town.
The day he was in Austin, Texas, I voted at the Texas Union. Yeah.
What do you love about Trump?
Everything about Trump. I'm a 100% Trump supporter, and I don't necessarily agree with everything that he's doing, but we need a shakeup of the system.
Yeah.
And the only way to facilitate change is to shake up the system.
Right.
And he's shaking the tree very, very, very hard, and I'm in full support of that.
Because every politician comes from a politician background.
He doesn't.
Right.
He's just here to shake the tree.
Yeah.
I mean, he could be on a sandy beach somewhere. He didn't have to. He was called to this path, and he accepted the calling for the greater good of humanity. Whether anybody wants to see it that way or not, that is 100% factual. I mean, look at his track record as a businessman, as a wealthy individual. He could have hoarded all that for himself, but instead he's decided to come in, put himself at risk, got shot in the ear, he's shaking the tree. He's a 36-time convicted felon because of a bullshit story, like, but he's still facing all of that head on,
Right.
and he's using his voice, and he's setting a great example for America and
Right.
for all of humanity, really.
So I just seen that shirt.
Mind over matter, yeah.
Mind over matter.
Yeah.
That's
Somebody
cool.
gave it to me. I've been given everything that I have here, except for these shoes. I bought those at Goodwill for $20.
Nice. So you've been blessed
Very blessed.
out here
Every day.
every day.
With gratitude in your heart, there's no room for anything else.
In there.
With gratitude, can you say that again?
With gratitude in a person's heart, there's no room for anything else. If I'm grateful for everything that this moment is offering me, what else is there room for? I don't have room to complain. I don't have room to lack. I don't have room to remember a past that I necessarily don't want to remember. I don't have room to make up a future that may not necessarily happen. All I have is gratitude for this moment. With gratitude in my heart, I'm in heaven right now.
Right. You're in heaven
In
right
every
now.
moment. In every moment.
That's an interesting perspective. I've never heard about that one yet,
Yeah.
honestly. But so with heaven being here right now because we create, you know, so there's no higher dimension than current.
I mean, that's up to you.
Well, what do you think?
That's your personal choice.
What do you think?
Well,
Is there another
I
dimension
mean,
after
like
this?
when we put labels to things, your interpretation of the word dimension might be different than what mine is. You know, like your interpretation of reality is definitely different than mine
Right.
is. Like, it's all an individualized experience. Is
Let me
there
read it.
is
Let
there
me-
anything is there anything greater than this moment and everything that this moment's absolutely, and that's why we're constantly going to create something else
Right.
that we want to experience. If you want to experience yourself on Mars in this what you call the fifth or sixth dimension, at some point you will. I mean, if you desire that, you know, I
Yeah.
might not call it that. I don't know. Like, but there. I mean, there's
Fifth and sixth dimension. So we're living in the third dimension.
well, it depends on what you want to call it. I mean,
What would you say it is?
I live in the material world.
Okay.
You know, I live in the here and now. I like things to be tangible.
That's how we the real world is how you manipulate change and you manipulate like positive energy, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can manipulate whatever you want. It's, you know, everything. The world's a stage, and you're the actor, and you're choosing your role. I mean, at the end of the day, we all are.
Right.
You know,
So how old are you?
49. I'll be
40.
50 this year. Yeah.
49.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in those 49 years, what do you think has been the most important thing that you've stayed true to?
The most valuable thing that I've accomplished or achieved in this life is I have a son who's 12, and I don't see him on a regular basis, and I haven't seen him for a while, but he's right here, always in my heart. We're connected. So, it's my greatest accomplishment.
When was the last time you reached out to him?
About 3 years ago.
About 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, Anonymous, you know, you're a really great speaker.
Well, thanks.
You know, not a lot of people have that gift. So, you know, I would say that keep sharing it, man. Keep sharing that information and the knowledge you have.
Well, thank you.
Because it seems to me, just from having this 23-minute conversation, that you're a very powerful person.
Thank you.
Like, honestly.
Oh,
Amen, brother.
Stupid Japanese idiot goop.
Yeah.
One more thing for your camera.
You don't have the mic. Let me get you the mic.
Hey, hold on.
Antonia, for good old company London's sake, and Manchester fucking United, Auntie Middleton, for hanging out with Tracy and Mary that passed away here in the Slam Joe.
Right.
This little fucking shithead, Monique Sabre, gets her shit dildoed by Hassan's little nail gun, and we're gonna finish this non-equivalent conversation of some shithead fake porno star and it's nonsense garbage.
How long have you guys been friends?
I do stretching and shaking. I'm a Delta. I'm a SEAL. I can do Liverpool. Every swan must land in the sea. I live right next to Swansea. And I need this fucking shithead mobilized into a garbage can today.
Yeah.
So my friend Lord shared this word of wisdom with me that I must share with y'all, with the world. Hopefully we're intergalactic at this point. So she shared this with me. Well, there's a little God And there's a big God. And this is the biggest problem with humanity right now. There's a little God and there's a big God.
Yeah.
And little God can bench press 400 pounds. Big God can't. But big God thinks he can. And that's the problem. Mic drop.